Let's go to the Discord lines at davidpakman.com/Discord. It's been an insanely busy week from the standpoint of politics and happenings of all sorts. We will start today with Stephen from Louisiana. Stephen from Louisiana, what's on your mind today?
Hi, David. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Two things, David. Firstly, obviously, earlier this week, Speaker McCarthy initiated the inquiry for impeachment for President Biden.
Yes.
And typically, I know you've talked about it ad nauseum, as so has everybody else in news media. But typically, you have evidence, and then you bring the inquiry. And many right-wing lawmakers are arguing that in order to obtain the evidence, they need to initiate the inquiry. So
Right.
it makes a lot of sense. And by a lot, I mean none. But the question is do you think that this political stunt and all the virtue signaling and, whataboutism, do you think that this will hurt Republicans in 2024?
I made the prediction earlier this week that this will hurt Kevin McCarthy in terms of his future general political aspirations. Whether it hurts Republicans in 2024 is going to depend on, number one, what comes of the inquiry, and number two, how they spin it. My prediction is they're not going to find, sometimes you have to just say, what's the simplest explanation? They've looked for years for this evidence against Joe Biden. They haven't been able to find it. What's the simplest explanation? The simplest explanation is the evidence doesn't exist because he didn't do the things they're accusing him of doing. If that is the case, then it will be a question of how do they spin it? Can they justify what they did? Not to the MAGA people that are bloodthirsty for an impeachment, but just to like your average voter. And if they can, well, then it'll mitigate the damage that it does. And if they can't, then there are likely to be voters that punish Republicans for having done that. On the other hand, obviously, if they find evidence against Joe Biden, move forward to impeachment, if the prevailing narrative becomes Biden did do the things he's accused of doing by Republicans currently without evidence, then it's not going to be damaging to them. But on the assumption that Biden simply didn't do these things, I believe the damage or not that it causes will depend on how Republicans spin that they just weren't able to find the evidence.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That does. And so my second question, I'm not sure if you've seen it, but a piece written by David Ignatius earlier this week in the Washington Post, opinion piece, he said that the Biden-Harris ticket shouldn't run in 2024. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I saw that article, opinion, President Biden should not run again in 2024. I mean, listen, there are two different questions here. Question one is, do I understand why there's no Democratic primary? And the answer is, of course I do. There is never a primary, Democratic or Republican, when you have an incumbent president running for re-election because the party says this is our best shot at keeping someone from our party in the Oval Office. I don't like it. I would love for there to be a primary. I know why there isn't one. It's the same with Democrats and Republicans. Next question. Do I think it would be better for Democrats if Biden didn't run again and said, I was a transitional candidate. We are now going to clear the stage and clear the path. I care about outcomes. I don't want Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis or whoever from those lunatics to be president. So whatever will prevent that is what I am prioritizing. If Biden running is the best way to prevent that, then although I would like a next generation leader and someone to Biden's left, I say it's fine for Biden to run. If I became convinced that the best way to defeat Trump or DeSantis were by Biden stepping aside and letting someone younger, maybe Gavin Newsom, who knows, come forward, then I would support it. I don't know because the polling has a lot of question marks around it. I don't know what's most likely to keep Trump out of power, but I would be fine with Biden saying, I'm stepping aside. Let's have a primary. Let's pick a new leader for the party. I'm totally fine with that ethically and morally and in principle.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. I do. I appreciate you taking my call, David.
All right, Stephen from Louisiana, thank you so much for the call. Very much appreciate it.